Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez ended Friday practice at the German Grand Prix fastest of the field with a 1 minute and 19.394 seconds, edging Trackhouse Aprilia's Raúl Fernández by 0.166s. The session underlined Marquez's one-lap speed and Ducati's qualifying strength, but it also exposed persistent race day consistency questions for the factory squad after Pecco Bagnaia failed to make Q2 for the fourth time this season. Pecco Bagnaia missed Q2 at the Sachsenring after a difficult Friday, finishing 13th and confirming persistent rear grip issues that have dogged his season. While other Ducatis looked competitive, Bagnaia's inability to find traction shifted the team's focus from mechanical setup to electronic mapping and traction control as they search for a solution before qualifying. Pit Byra responded to Maverick Vinales' explosive claims with a mix of defense and urgency. KTM still wants to keep options open for the Spaniard, but the window is closing. Byra framed the dispute as a painful miscommunication around a factory pathway and stressed the need to protect Vinales' career while also making timely decisions for 2027 planning. Günther Steiner outlined a pragmatic reset at Tech 3 as the team prepares for the 850 cubic centimeters era, avoid public contract rows, recruit riders who fit the new culture, and build independent Tech 3 contracts rather than relying on KTM's direct signings. His comments at the Sachsenring signal a deliberate break from the past and a focus on assembling a cohesive, forward-looking lineup. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. FP2 session at the Sachsenring saw the top positions shuffle in the closing minutes as riders chased soft tire runs and late improvements. Marco Bezzecchi and Fabio Di Giannantonio set early benchmarks, Jack Miller briefly matched the pace, and a late yellow flag for Enea Bastianini's crash prevented further progress for some. Marquez's late 1 minute and 19.394 seconds proved decisive. Late session tire choices and yellow flags often determine the final order in practice. Teams that time their runs best gain a tactical edge heading into qualifying. Marquez's pace in FP2 reinforced his status as a favorite at the Sachsenring, combining a clean flying lap with the confidence of a rider who knows how to extract maximum from the Ducati package over a single lap. His FP1 crash did not prevent a strong FP2 showing, suggesting the team found a workable setup for short runs. When a rider tops practice after an earlier incident, it often reflects both physical resilience and rapid setup progress from the garage. The headline concern for Ducati is Pecco Bagnaia's 13th place in FP2, which left him outside Q2 for the fourth time this year. That result highlights the season-long pattern: excellent qualifying potential for some Ducatis but intermittent Sunday pace, and, in Bagnaia's case, even trouble reaching the shootout. Setup balance, tire management, and track-specific compromises are recurring themes. Missing Q2 forces Bagnaia into the riskier sprint and qualifying route, increasing tire wear and race day exposure. For Ducati, that raises questions about how to deliver a package that suits both single-lap speed and sustained race performance. The session's late yellow flag for Bastianini's crash curtailed final attempts, while Franco Morbidelli faces a potential penalty for impeding Pedro Acosta by riding slowly on the racing line. These incidents can reshuffle qualifying prospects and add disciplinary noise to an already tense weekend. Meanwhile, championship leader Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi make Q2 comfortably, preserving their strategic positions. Penalties and yellow flags are small variables that can have outsized effects on grid positions. Teams must factor them into their late session timing and risk calculations. Friday's practice paints a mixed picture. Marquez and several Ducatis show raw speed, Aprilia remains competitive through Fernández, and Bagnaia's Q2 miss demands attention. Ducati's immediate task is twofold: secure Bagnaia's route into Q2 and translate Marquez's single-lap pace into race-long stability. For rivals, the session confirms that the Sachsenring weekend will be decided by late qualifying tactics. tire choices and how well teams manage interruptions like yellow flags and penalties. If Ducati can fix the shortfall that cost Bagnaia a Q2 spot and validate race pace, the factory squad will be back in contention. If not, the weekend could slip away despite promising practice times. Ducati occupied 3 of the top 4 spots on Friday, but Bagnaia was the clear outlier. He ran 4 different setups without improvement, prompting engineers to compare data from teammates, particularly Alex Marquez, who currently shows stronger rear grip, to identify what's missing. Key fact: Bagnaia finished 13th, roughly 7/10 slower than Marc Márquez's leading GP26. When multiple setup changes fail to help, teams typically turn to telemetry and electronic settings rather than further mechanical tweaks. Bagnaia was candid about the feeling on track. In sectors T2 and T3 the rear feels like ice, forcing him into a flat track style of riding. He believes the root cause is electronic rather than purely chassis related, pointing to traction control, engine mapping and software parameters as the likely culprits. In T2 and T3 it feels like I'm on ice. It's like I'm doing flat track. Shifting the focus to electronics means the team must test different mappings and control strategies, work that can be effective but requires careful validation with the rider. The discrepancy between Bagnaia and other Desmas set-aside GPs suggests a data-driven fix is possible. Engineers will analyze where Alex Marquez and others extract extra rear grip and attempt to replicate those electronic settings for Bagnaia. However, changes to mapping can alter entry behavior and tire wear, so Ducati must balance short-term gains with overall stability. Electronic adjustments can deliver quick improvements but demand rider confidence. Without that trust, even technically correct changes may not translate into lap time. Sachsenring places a premium on rear grip, and a newly reported hole between the curb and asphalt at turn 3 has forced riders to alter lines, increasing uncertainty. The weekend also debuts a revised grid format that spaces rows further apart, making a poor starting position more punitive, heightening the cost of Bagnaia's Q2 miss. External factors like surface irregularities and format changes can magnify a technical deficit, turning a setup issue into a strategic handicap. Ducati's immediate priorities are clear: isolate the electronic parameter causing the loss of rear support, test a reliable correction before qualifying, and restore Bagnaia's confidence. If the comparative data points to an effective mapping change, the weekend can still be salvaged. If not, the combination of the new grid and Sachsenring's demands will make recovery much harder. The challenge is both technical and psychological. Returning Bagnaia to a feeling of grip and stability will determine whether the GP26 potential can be converted into a competitive race result. Vinales publicly said he had signed a KTM contract that was later declared invalid, then suggested he might quit Moto GP. Bayer avoided getting drawn into contractual specifics but described the situation as a negotiation that went terribly wrong. After Vinales' prolonged recovery and shifting expectations about which seat would be offered. I really want to protect this boy. When high-profile negotiations spill into the press, teams often respond by emphasizing process and protecting reputations while they sort the facts internally. KTM had at one stage hoped Vinales would be a factory rider, but his recovery from a shoulder injury and inconsistent returns to form altered the calculus. Bayer said KTM left a place open for Vinales, but the rider reportedly balked when told the opportunity might be at Tech 3 rather than a guaranteed factory assignment. That mismatch in expectations appears to be the flashpoint. Misaligned expectations about role and status can derail otherwise straightforward negotiations, especially when a rider's fitness and form are still in question. Bayer struck a protective tone, warning that an emotional decision to quit could end Vinales' career and urging calm and time to recover physically and mentally. He acknowledged Vinales' frustration but insisted KTM has not closed the door. The spot is open, but time is ticking against us. The team has effectively set this weekend as a deadline to firm up plans. Public appeals to a rider's welfare are partly genuine and partly tactical, buying space to negotiate while signaling to sponsors and partners that the manufacturer remains responsible. With Vinales' future uncertain, KTM and Tech3 are already lining up alternatives. Luca Marini is the favorite for the experienced seat, while rookies Senna Agius or Manuel Gonzalez are in contention for the second slot. Bayer and Tech3's Günther Steiner are working to finalize a decision quickly to stabilize the team ahead of the 850cc transition. High-profile uncertainty accelerates recruitment moves. Teams must balance experience and youth while avoiding rush signings that don't fit the culture. The longer a public dispute lingers, the harder it becomes to attract the right replacements and to keep sponsor confidence intact. Bayer's response is a mix of damage control and deadline setting. He defends KTM's position, expresses sympathy for Vinales, and signals that the manufacturer must move on if clarity isn't reached. For Vinales, the choice is stark: reconcile and rebuild fitness within the paddock or risk stepping away from a still fragile career. For KTM, the priority is closing the roster quickly and protecting the 2027 program from distraction. Final note: if KTM and Vinales can de-escalate and agree a realistic path forward, both sides can salvage a constructive outcome. If not, KTM will pivot to alternatives and the paddock will move on. Steiner declined to wade into Maverick Vinales' public dispute with KTM, stressing he isn't party to the contract and prefers not to be drawn into press rows. He framed the episode as damaging to trust and difficult to repair if aired publicly, underlining the importance of stable relationships as Tech3 and KTM move into a new technical cycle. "I can't comment. It's a contract with KTM, and I don't know the facts." Public disputes between rider and manufacturer complicate recruitment and team morale. Steiner's distance is a deliberate attempt to limit collateral damage. Tech3 will switch to its own rider contracts from 2027, ending the previous model where KTM held direct agreements. Steiner presented this as a structural change that gives Tech3 autonomy over recruitment and team culture, and as a necessary step after the team's purchase and reorganization. Owning contracts lets Tech3 shape long-term strategy, align incentives, and avoid being sidelined by manufacturer decisions. Contractual independence is a common move when teams seek clearer identity and control during major technical transitions. Steiner confirmed a churn in KTM's roster. Enea Bastianini appears likely to leave for Trackhouse, and Brad Binder also seems set to depart at the end of 2026. Steiner framed these exits as part of a broader reset. Sometimes a fresh start requires letting go of long-standing relationships. Losing experienced riders creates short-term gaps but opens the door to new talent and a rebalanced team dynamic. High turnover can be disruptive, but it also allows a team to rebuild around a coherent philosophy. Luca Marini is on Steiner's radar for his experience and team-building potential, while Tech3 is also eyeing young talent from intact Moto 2, Manuel Gonzalez and Senna Agius, as candidates to inject pace and long-term upside. Steiner emphasized fit and personality as much as raw speed when evaluating prospects. "You don't just hire someone who rides a motorcycle, you hire someone who has to fit in with the team." Balancing an experienced lead with promising youngsters is a common blueprint for teams aiming to combine immediate results with sustainable growth. Steiner's remarks sketch a two-track plan: stabilize the team culture through independent contracts and selective recruitment, while preparing for the technical leap to 850cc machinery. He signaled caution about public disputes and a preference for controlled, internal negotiations to shape the next era. Execution will hinge on clear decision-making and the ability to attract riders who match Tech3's renewed identity. If Tech3 secures the right mix of experience and youth and keeps negotiations private and constructive, it can enter 2027 with momentum. If public rows persist, the rebuild could be hampered by distraction and mistrust. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your Moto GP news update. And see you next time!